Joe Burrow is about to become he'll be the highest paid, the richest man in the NFL. That's going to happen soon. Saquon Barkley still trying to get a long-term contract, and Hopkins is subtly inching his way toward, get me out of Arizona, but I'm trying to look like a team player. He's dropping one thing one moment, another comment that goes the other direction another moment. It's back and forth with Hopkins, but I do ultimately believe Hopkins will be gone at some point, whether it's a midseason trade, whether it's a trade before week one. We'll have to see how that plays out. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now, so file on in, hit that like button.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
So we've got a lot of news to cover, but instead of just hitting some of these items, we're going to talk about the fantasy football outlooks for the players as we talk about each one of them. So when we talk about Burrow, we're going to talk about what our expectation is for Burrow in 2023 and beyond from a dynasty perspective as well. Of course, we'll hit both angles. First in the building was D-Class, Travis, Melvin, Yusuf, Axe, Logan, the Ryan, Nathan. Appreciate you all being here, Frake. All the crew just filing on and appreciate that. Hit that thumb up button on your way in the door. Joe Burrow is about to become the highest paid player in the NFL. That's going to happen really, really soon. We keep hearing little pieces of information dropping left and right that this is in motion. This is going to happen. They do want to get this thing done and out of the way. And Joe Burrow, the thing about this, and one reason why we talk about this, because we all know this is going to happen. It's almost not news at this point, but this is a time in fantasy where we're seeing Joe Burrow get ranked in a crazy context, like in too low. When we look at Joe Burrow in a this is a mock above the three best friends, a wolf pack that we've been talking about. We'll get to the wolf pack in a second, but when you're drafting a scenario like this and Joe Burrow is falling to round 4, sometimes top of round 5, you're staring at a league-winning approach, a league-winning formula. A league-winning formula that no one can touch. You're getting a quarterback that is an early-round quarterback that should be in round 2 with Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, which is where those guys typically go now. Early quarterback, hey, Schmitty, remember 2-3 years ago? You don't draft a quarterback early, Schmitty. Yeah, you will. You'll start getting on board, Bob, because early quarterback is actually a thing. Now the whole world's talking about it. Now the whole world's doing it. 3 quarterbacks have round 2 value in 2023, which is crazy considering the pushback we got on this strategy, this crazy strategy of wasting your second round pick. We still hear people run their mouth about how, you should draft a quarterback late. You should draft a quarterback late. You should draft a quarterback early. You should draft a middle round quarterback. It all depends on the flow of draft. There is no set plan. There's no set plan. It's best player available every time. Every time. People that say there's a set plan of attack on anything in fantasy before they walk into their draft. You can have loose base plans, like small ideas you want to deploy. But anybody that says you should have this set plan here, go running back, go robust RB, go wide receiver, which we love, but you can't just plan to do it. If anybody says plan to do it, this is how you should do it. You should only go late running back. Anybody that has a set plan of attack without any kind of ability to navigate around the waters of the trade flow or the flow of draft should be taking a lap. Flow of draft is everything. Now, why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about this right now? Well, I was trying to emphasize that Joe Burrow, before I sidetrack myself, Joe Burrow is a 4th or 5th rounder. What do we know about when players are in the news? When a player like Joe Burrow inks a big fat contract, what's going to happen to his ADP? It's going to climb. It's going to climb. Why is it going to climb? Because people are fickle. It's going to climb because people, they get reminded, hey, this guy's good. This guy's good. If he's the highest paid player in the NFL, that must mean something. And a lot of unaware Ungers are going to go into their draft with one thing on their mind. Joe Burrow is the highest paid player in the National Football League. Maybe I should be drafting him alongside of Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. So my whole point is you're doing best ball drafts, Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. Right? You're doing all these right now. You're doing these with me. We're taking advantage. And if you want to draft on Thursday, Friday, Saturday at midnight Eastern, you want to get to the link in the description or enter promo code Smitty or click this link right here that I'm about to drop right now on you, because this is what it's about. On Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're doing the live drafts. I just dropped the link right now. It's in the description of every video. Code Smitty does it as well. They'll match up to $100 in your first deposit. We're getting Joe Burrow in round 4 and 5. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth because they're league-winning words. We're getting Joe Burrow in round 4 and 5 right now. I can't emphasize enough how unlikely this is going to be after Joe Burrow's big contract is announced, because people are fickle. Fickle Freddy, unaware Unger, Bob, all of these individuals that don't know what time it is. They look at Joe Burrow's falling ADP, which is head-scratching to me, but I don't care. I don't ask questions. I just let you know what I see, and what I see is a league winner. What I see is an early quarterback that goes in round 2 that's falling to round 4. I see an early quarterback that someone grabbed on accident. Somebody accidentally misfiled where Joe Burrow's ADP is. Somebody at the ADP office misfiled Joe Burrow, and they dropped him. They did an oopsie. We did an oopsie. We dropped Joe Burrow in round 4 and 5. We don't know why. We don't know how. We don't know how long it's going to last, but oopsie on us. The ADP department, the Department of Average Draft Position Data, has accidentally dropped Joe Burrow, a early round quarterback in round 2. They dropped him in round 4. We don't know how long it's going to last, but when someone says don't go early quarterback, you say, fine, I won't. I'll go middle round quarterback with an early round quarterback named Joe Burrow. This will not last. It will not last. It will not last. This will not last. Joe Burrow in round 4 will not last. And if he doesn't climb out of round 4, he will climb to the top of round 4. Take advantage. Draft him all day long as you can. As soon as his contract's announced, people are going to be reminded, because they're fickle Freddies and unaware Ungers are going to be like, oh, I guess he's good. He's on my mind now, so I guess if he's good enough to be the number 1 quarterback in the NFL payment-wise, maybe he should be going at the top of round 3. So get ready for that unfortunate move of ADP data. Saquon Barkley, as I mentioned, is still trying to get his contract done. There's still movement there, and you got to think this team is wanting to keep him happy. He is not happy. They're trying to win games. He wants his deal, understandably so, because he's getting older. Every running back has a 4 to 6 year shelf life, and you're lucky if you're on that 6 end. That 6 year, 7 year. It's just almost it's hard to imagine Saquon Barkley playing at an elite level for 7 years. So 4 to 5 year shelf life is what you got to expect. You got to expect to get into that contract before you start seeing any hint of decline. And Barkley can't afford to go play through an elite season, put his body on the line, prove to people he's worth it, because if he doesn't deliver, he's not going to get the payday. So he has to go out there and literally risk his health trying to put together a season that's going to warrant a big fat contract. He wants to get signed so he doesn't have to try and potentially injure himself trying to make this happen. He wants to get a deal done. The Giants kind of do, kind of don't. It seems like they want to potentially push it off to next year. That's why they've kind of almost stopped talks, but we still hear that this is still in the works potentially, and get ready for it. This, like Burrow, will remind people to draft him, so any new contract of a big-name player will spike their ADP value up quite a bit. It's just the nature of the human being, the human condition, the psychology behind the fantasy football owner. So get ready to pay a little bit more of a price tag if these guys ink their big fat contracts. Hopkins is another story. This is kind of an interesting one, guys. This keeps brewing, and it gets a little more interesting every time Hopkins opens his mouth. Because one moment he'll say something like, I didn't want to get traded. That wasn't true. The next moment he'll say something like he wouldn't mind playing this location, that location, this location. Then the next minute he walks back that piece of information. And then he says here, let me highlight it here with some kind of indicator. So right here, he says Hopkins appeared unbothered by the rumors, but said that he would like to play with a team that had stable management upstairs. Big shot at the Arizona Cardinals. Not that it's not a wrong, like an inaccurate statement. It's just, this makes me feel like the team, if they were wanting to maybe have him hang around a little longer, they might be like, let's get this toxic guy out of here because we want to trade him anyway. He's not dictating a trade. We're not letting a player tell us I want out, and so we're going to trade him. But this is one of those things where it's like they already want him out potentially for financial reasons and to get something in terms of draft capital for an older player during a rebuild year, during a wasted year. Now he's being toxic potentially, calling management upstairs not so stable. Hopkins says he believes the team is in good hands after multiple conversations with him. Even though the Cardinals did want to move Hopkins, his contract makes it rather difficult at this time. Then Hopkins went on to say that he wants to play for a quarterback that loves the game. And that is a shot at Kyler Murray, most certainly, and rightfully so. A shot that is, I think, deserving to be fired off. And Kyle dropping a super chat, Dynasty, Dobbs, or Jalen Reed. I like Reed more than Dobbs. Dobbs, no. I'm not buying into that. Give me Reed. They drafted Reed, I think, for a reason. Dobbs is okay, but I think Reed's got more upside. College, stats and everything it's hard to make and translate over because it wasn't like he had the most enormous, college season, but there's some metrics there that I do like. He does seem like he's got potential. I would go ahead and go with Reed. But it's arguable for sure. Hopkins, I think Hopkins ultimately gets traded. Now, the interesting thing about a fantasy football, take on this one is that if Hopkins gets traded, the team acquiring him is most likely going to be in contention. And so if it's the Buffalo Bills, which we won't like because we love Dalton Kincaid. Whoopsie. We like Dalton Kincaid, and we don't want Kincaid to lose his wide receiver 2 slot at all. Like this is a cheat code in Dalton Kincaid. Get Kincaided. Let's play that whole intro. Get Dalton Kincaided in 2023. We don't want Hopkins reigning on the Dalton Kincaid crowning. Okay, we don't need him reigning on that parade. But Hopkins most likely, if traded, will go to a contender. So if you ask me, he's more likely to get traded right now than he was, yesterday. And so if you're drafting Hopkins, you need to expect him playing somewhere else by at least midseason, but maybe before week 1. Wouldn't shock me if now all this, news and negativity has the Cardinals launching off on a trade that they didn't really want to do because it didn't include 2023 draft capital. That ship has sailed. But now they're like, okay, well, we are dealing with what's in front of us now. Kyler Murray may not play in 2023. He could. There's a lot of people that think he could play by week 8, 9, 10. There are other people that say, why would they bring him back when they're in the Caleb sweepstakes and trying to get a quarterback that's highly touted as probably the best rookie quarterback to come out in a handful of years, and the Cardinals could have a shot at him. And then you say, well, what about Jonathan Gannon and all of his talk, this head coach of the Arizona Cardinals coming over from Philly as a defensive coordinator, coming over as Arizona Cardinal head coach, and talking about Kyler Murray being the reason he came over. He loves Kyler. He wants Kyler. He doesn't make all the decisions is kind of what this comes down to. And the fact remains, the Cardinals, if they get a shot at Caleb at number 1 overall, and they have a shot at that, this team is not going to play well if Kyler Murray's not under center. This team could win 2 or 3 games. This team could win 4 games max without Kyler Murray. If they start off the season in awful fashion, you can bet your bottom dollar this team is probably not going to run Kyler Murray out there to win 4 or 5 games at the end and ruin their chance to get maybe one of the most electric quarterbacks to come out of college for some time. And if Caleb's on the table and the Cardinals can draft him at 1, you better get prepared, all of you Jonathan Gannon truthers that think Jonathan Gannon's going to just take this team, funnel it through Kyler Murray, which he said, and turn it into some kind of, amazing squat 2024 fantasy football conglomerate. There's not going to be a lot of fantasy football production coming out of this Arizona Cardinal offense until they make some major changes. Changes I don't believe are going to include Kyler Murray. But we'll have to see what happens. If the Cardinals don't get a shot at Caleb, they're keeping Kyler. But if they have a shot at Caleb, they will draft him and they will trade Kyler. I 100% believe that. I think that the Arizona Cardinals brass is going to make sure that happens if that opportunity presents itself. So my point being is part of that is going to be getting rid of this guy Hopkins. And if you're drafting him in an Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, match up to $100 in your first deposit. Link has been dropped. Let me drop the link one more time. We're drafting Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. Draft marathon, 3 days in a row, every single week, walking into week 1. So from here on out, every single Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we have draft marathons, mock draft marathons, live best ball draft marathons, you name it. But while we're drafting this kid, and we're saying, hey, Hopkins may be on an Arizona Cardinal roster right now. You might be drafting him and getting a steal later. I'm not saying to push his ADP up any higher. I'm saying take advantage of where he's falling and potentially grab a guy that might be in a very, very different situation in a month or 2 from now. So Hopkins is a tough guy to value, a tough guy to draft, a tough guy to trade away or trade for. If you own him in a dynasty league, you're probably sitting there going, I don't think I'm getting a single thing from this guy. Don't sell him on pennies on the dollar. Try to hold him, and maybe you could retain some kind of newfound value. If he gets traded into a very good situation, then you can maybe trade him away to a contender in your fantasy league if you in fact are in rebuild mode with Hopkins. Maybe you can couple Hopkins with a future first round pick to go get some sort of questionable wide receiver that you actually love. Maybe you could go get a Jahan Dotson using Hopkins and a pick once, Hopkins gets traded, because people are sleeping on Jahan Dotson and they don't know that Dotson could be a top 12 wide receiver in the National Football League. Jahan Dotson. Dotson's doing it, and he's doing it live in 2023. Get ready for it. We got a couple other pieces of news to get to before we open up the phone lines. The NFL, wow. The NFL has potentially put a rule up for consideration that will allow fair catches on kickoffs to get the ball to the 25-yard line, which is a very, very weak addition to the NFL rule book, if I must say so myself. And everybody's saying this. We have a lot of people saying bunch of crap. This is garbage. All day long we've been seeing it the last couple hours, 3 or 4 hours ago. This is a bad move for the NFL. I know they want to save and potentially cut down on concussions and save on player health and all that. But is this the place to do it? I don't think so. This is a place to dumb down the game. This is a place to maybe have higher scoring affairs, which the NFL thinks will lead to more, more spending, more ticket sales, more high octane touchdowns being scored. Now, we have to consider that from a fantasy perspective. If this does end up taking place, teams that you got teams like the Bengals, teams like the Eagles, and any high octane offense, it's going to be not about defense. If the team is more offensive geared than defensive geared, the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to see these guys score more touchdowns. If you start off on the 25-yard line every single time, you're going to see potentially this trickle into fantasy football in a way that we got to consider a little bit. It's something to keep in mind that if Joe Burrow is starting off on the 25-yard line every time, or 20 or 25, And right now, ball's kicked out of the end zone, it's the 20-yard line anyway. But, it's a dumb rule. It's a dumb rule, and I don't think it should be a part of the NFL rule book. We'll have to see. NFL has announced that the 2025 NFL Draft will be in Green Bay. Congratulations, Packers fans, for having that. That Green Bay announcement's pretty cool. This is the Hopkins piece of news. Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins wants a stable management upstairs, and so that is going to make things awkward in Arizona as they look to potentially deal him. So after 2024 in downtown Detroit, the 2025 draft will take place inside and around the Lambeau Field, and this is cool. Detroit also, I want to bring this up because I wanted everyone to know where 2024 is going to be. So Detroit and then Green Bay. So that'll be pretty fun and interesting. The Washington Commanders sale is going to be delayed more than people expect. There are, I think, something upward of 12 to 15 I want to say silent partners, small-time partners in the group that's buying the Washington Commanders, that's led by Magic Johnson and the boys. And the Denver Broncos sale included 2 or 3 silent small partners that were inside that group that purchased the Denver Broncos. And the word is that I've gotten anyway, is that the 2 or 3 additional players in vetting those 2 or 3 potential partners that were very minority stakeholders in the group that bought the Denver Broncos, that group, those 3 individuals, it was said to put back the sale, delay it like a month or 2. And so if you talk about 15 minority stakeholders in the group buying the Washington Commanders, potentially needing to be vetted, this thing is said to be something that might not be optimistic to be done in July. Optimistic to be done at some point at the end of July, mid-July. That means that this could be something that gets handled in August or September or even later. So maybe they do some sort of, I've heard some terms like expediting and pushing this along and having an emergency meeting and doing different things. I'm sure the NFL wants to get this handled sooner than later because of how this impacts the 2023 narrative. Like, hey, this 2023 was actually not under command of new ownership and management because it didn't get done until right when the season kicked off. They don't want to taint the 2023 season, I think, so they're going to try their hardest to get this done before the season, but it's going to potentially put a little bit of a delay on this thing to have to vet 15 minority stakeholders in the group that's going to buy this Washington Commander team. They've got to vet all of them. They've got to go through all this. It's potentially a month or 2 month process to do so. So that's unfortunate news because a lot of decisions need to be made for the Washington Commanders, and you got this owner here that everybody wants out that's still in control. So we'll have to see what happens there. I still firmly believe that this team's on a mission to excite the fan base and turn things around in 2023. I firmly believe in Sam Howell. Let's give Sam Howell a moonshot at least. I was going to do a standing ovation. Let's give him a moonshot until he proves a little bit more. But I'm real excited about Sam Howell. I'm real excited about Jahan Dotson. I think the Washington Commanders team is going to be exciting to watch in 2023. And we got our boy Jared in here, who Jared is not a fantasy football player at all. We're trying to convert him. Jared, here's the link right here. Click the link, get into an underdog draft, sign up ahead of time, $10 minimum deposit. They'll give you up to $100 bonus match, dollar for dollar on your first deposit. So if you do 10, they'll give you 10. You do 100, they'll give you 100 if you're new to underdog. But Jared, we'll be drafting Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Click that link and sign up. Anybody else that hasn't, click that link and sign up. I just dropped it. It's in the description of every video, Underdog Fantasy. But Jared, the reason I brought Jared up is he is not a fantasy football player. He comes in here and just wants to talk. Whenever we do mention it for just a brief moment, Washington Commander football. This guy shows up every day here. Hits the thumb up button like some of you still need to do because I see only 56 thumbs up and 122 of you still in here. Let's hit that thumb up button. But Jared comes in every day just to hear a glimpse, just get a glimpse or a whiff of Commander football talk, and he got some today. And I'm excited for it. Jared, glad to have you here. Jordan Love is going to be Jordan Love. Sam Howell and Jordan Love, I think, are going to surprise as quarterbacks in 2023. So get on board both those big dogs in fantasy football. Let's see. The NFL approved the the bylaw that would allow a third QB to be active on game day without burning a roster spot. This player has to be on the active roster. They cannot be on the practice squad. And you can't bench your second string quarterback to bring this emergency QB in. It has to be through injury. So this is good. This should have been in place anyway. So this is a good move. This was a disaster for the Niners when this situation unveiled. So definitely good for football. Chargers head coach Brandon Staley said he expects Austin Eckler to be at team's mandatory minicamp. I bring this up because Austin Eckler is very unhappy that he's not getting extended and getting a $10,000 per hour raise, and he thinks he's worthy of it. Austin Eckler, it is a shame. Running backs do deserve more money. They do. They do deserve more money, and they put their body on the line, and they don't tend to get that second contract like other positions do, because the second contract after, especially if they're a first rounder, but a lot of running backs aren't anymore. But, obviously we had 2 first round running backs this draft. We had one last year. So there are potential situations where a player has to play through 5 years and then try and get their next contract. Well, with running backs having a 4 to 6 year shelf life, that makes it hard for RBs to get that second contract. Now, I feel bad for Eckler. He's certainly deserving of it from last season beyond, but it would be hard. I would be hard pressed as an owner, as a decision maker for a club, to say, yeah, you're turning 28 years old. Okay, did he turn? I think he even turned 28. Does he turn 28 this month? 28 years old. This season, you'll be 28. And you're expecting to get, a 3 or 4 year extension? Like, you have this 1 year left. And I know that every running back wants to believe they're different. And I'm sure there will be 1 or 2 one-off situations. Derrick Henry did it at 28. He played well. All 28-year-old, Derrick Henry played well. And so he's entering his 28th season. I'm sure he believes he can do it too. And maybe he can. These are 2 very unique situations. This guy takes a lot of abuse in between the tackles than he should for his frame, but he definitely doesn't carry the football the same as a Derrick Henry. But I still would find it very hard for me, given he's on the team now, given you're able to run this guy out there this season at 28. What on earth makes me want to spend more money when I get him at the cost of what I'm paying right now? I don't have to do a single thing, and I get him for 2023, and then he's 29 years old. So even if he does somehow, some way deliver an elite 28-year-old season performance in a Chargers uniform in 2023, I'm still not extending him, because he skated by and he did well, and now he's 29. So, Eckler's not going to get what he thinks. What I think they should do, and I think this was offered to him, is some sort of just salary increase, just a little thank you. And I believe that was offered at one point from somebody that I trust, that he wants the bigger contract. He's not going to get it. And he's not going to get it elsewhere. If he thinks he's going to go out there at 28, play, even if he plays well, and then at 29 years old, go out and hit the free agent market and get a $3 or $4 million contract, a brand new contract that's going to pay him bank, he's kidding himself. It doesn't mean I don't feel bad for running backs or the RB, but he probably should have taken a little bit of a raise and pay bump just for saying, hey, here you go, Eckler. You did such a great job for us. We know we can't give you a lot, but hey, here's $8 million. Here's an $8 million raise, instead of worrying about trying to hold out and get this bigger long-term contract. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So my whole point in bringing this up is I don't know how unhappy he is right now. We'll see if he shows up to camp. Probably will. They decided they're not trading him, and they're not going to extend him. I don't know if maybe they'll kickstart some sort of we'll give you a bonus again, like if he revisits that front. Here's a little $8 million thank you. Little reconstructure. It's going to be called a reconstructed contract, but it'll be a little restructure, and it'll be like, hey, here's $8 million signing bonus. All up front, doesn't hurt the team too much at all. Here you go, Eckler. Restructure it. Here you go. I don't even know if it'll add a year. They may add a year. They may not. They may just give this man a raise, and they probably should. And I'm for that. I agree that Eckler should be given, hey, here's a $5-10 million just thank you. Like, that should happen, but he's not getting a 3-4 year extension. He's not going after 2028, after his 2023 season at 2028. His 2023 season at the age of 28. He's not walking out the door after the season's over and getting a 3 or 4 year deal like he thinks he's going to. I know every running back thinks they're different, but he's 29 years old after 2023 is over. Not going to happen. I think it's, tread lightly in drafting Eckler this year. Second round value, I don't hate, but I certainly don't love drafting him in the first round at the age of 28. As much as we want to believe he's different, as much as we want to say Derrick Henry did it at 29 or 28 years old, it's an anomaly, and it could happen again. I'm sure it will happen again, but you're better off jumping ship early than jumping ship late. Let's open up the phone lines.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Phone lines are open. Dial into the show. We can talk about whatever you want, especially talk about topics that we've discussed here already. Whether you want to talk Burrow, whether you want to talk Joe Burrow, whether you want to talk Hopkins, whatever you want, toss it at me. Phone lines are open. Dial into the show, and we'll start getting to your questions. Let me hit the chat too while we're at it. Let's see here. See if we got any good questions. Call me crazy, but might even help if Saquon is traded. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if Saquon's traded. He's got to go to a good spot, and a team trading for an RB is going to be a contender. No team that's not in the mix, no team like that isn't the Buffalo Bills or, the Eagles would be a team you would think of if they didn't already go get DeAndre Swift. A team like that maybe going and getting Saquon Barkley and trying to make a run, like the Bengals, for example. If the Bengals did move on from Mixon, they didn't, though. So I don't know that there are many suitors that are going to be available for a midseason or just before week 1 trade. If he was going to get traded, probably would have happened before week 1. Or I'm sorry, before the NFL draft kicked off. And it probably would happen before week 1 or midseason, But I have a feeling that the Giants don't want to trade him. They want to utilize him and win games this year, and I think Dable thinks he can win with what he's got. D. Philly, you're live on the Fantasy Football Show, pal.
Hey, good evening, Smitty. How you been? I've been MIA.
No problem, man. What can I do for you?
Just listening to this Barkley thing. I've talked to you a few times about I have an opportunity to keep Barkley and Eckler or Travis Etienne and Hall, and I'm just wondering if anything's changed. I haven't talked to you about it in a few weeks. Where are you at there? CeeDee Lamb still in the first, maybe a keeper?
You might
Barkley,
you might have to refresh my memory on the entire situation real quickly. So you have the ability to keep how many of these guys that you just read off?
2, and they count as my first and second round.
Okay, so Lamb, Barkley, Hall,
Eckler, Etienne,
okay,
and Mondre.
Okay, so I would say the reason I'm going to rule out Stevenson and Etienne is because those guys are third rounders and beyond, and I'm not saying they're not good picks or whatever, but when you consider where they're getting drafted, then you could redraft those guys easier. So you never want to keep a guy that you can redraft when these guys are going to go, he's a second rounder. Now in Dynasty, he might fall into the third round, or in keeper mindset, he might fall into the third round, but he still could float there. Breece Hall is definitely a guy I would keep, especially if you have future keeper value attached to him. If you can only keep a guy max of 2 years or something like that, then that would certainly throw out a little of that advantage. But if it's a long-term keeper prospect, then your 2 best bets are probably Lamb and Hall. I wouldn't mind Barkley being the other running back if you have any sort of limitation on the amount of years that you keep Hall. So what's the limitation on it?
3 years max.
That's still a long time. So this will be the first of 3 that you keep Hall. You get to keep him 2 more additional drafts.
And I'm draft 10 and 20. My first round is on pick 10 because I won last year. It goes in reverse order.
Yeah, I'd probably take Lamb and Hall. It gives you good balance to have both a wide receiver and a running back. And these guys with any sort of keeper value at all. Hall's going in the second round, and I'd say like maybe late in a redraft. So in a dynasty, that probably climbs to borderline, 12 to 15 overall. And in dynasty, he's inside the top 11. Barkley is a second rounder in redraft, so he's going to be a second rounder in dynasty or a keeper for sure. Lamb is in the first round now. He's like the 12-13 turn for wide receivers. So your two best bets are Hall and Lamb. But you can't really go wrong with any of the guys that aren't crossed out. Any of those top four. There's pros and cons, bro.
Okay, the other thing is, if I didn't take anybody, do you believe Bijan would still be there? Say if there's 10? Only one or two teams that didn't keep anybody in the first round, would Bijan be picked up, say, by the first or third team? Or would you think he would make it to me?
It depends on who else is being let go. I doubt there's anybody better than Bijan that's going to be left out there unless somebody had three monsters and they're just letting one of them go. Or let's say somebody grabs a quarterback and you weren't expecting that. But, I mean, Bijan should be the number one player taken because in a dynasty keeper setting, he's a first rounder. So I can't imagine there are a lot of first rounders that will be thrown back into the player pool. But that's up to you, bro, to take that gamble. But if there's only two teams drafting and you got a shot at it, I guess I'd consider it. But and yeah, I mean, at that point, if you could get Bijan and you still get a Hall or a Lamb anyway, like maybe not keeping anybody's the approach.
Yeah, because what I'm looking at is most of the teams, probably 7 or 8 of them, will have a good keeper. And when I throw those 4 top 6 players back to the pool, also Derrick Henry is back in the pool. He probably wouldn't be. But Jonathan Taylor is also back in the pool because the people that own those 2 players had them for the last 3 years. They have to go back into the draft.
So I guess I'll ask this question. Hey, let me ask this for the audience. Let's see what the chat thinks. Hey, chat, would you throw all these guys back? And your worst case scenario is probably what? You get Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not saying Jahmyr Gibbs is somebody you want to take, number 1 overall or 2 overall in any sort of other setting. But if you're talking about the top 12 players overall are probably kept roughly. And so this guy's Philly's looking at potentially getting Gibbs at like what would constitute a 10 or 11 overall player in dynasty keeper setting. I kind of feel like I go for it as long as I'm understanding this correctly. Is against the grain as it feels to throw these guys back. I'm tempted if you're going to get Bijan, but I guess if you're drafting at 20, my question would be this. How many, you said only 2 owners might be drafting in the first 2 rounds. Is that correct?
At least in the first, and that's really all I'm concerned about because I want Bijan or somebody better than the 6 I listed.
But what about the second round? How many people will be drafting in the second round, do you think? Half?
I'd have to go back and look at all the teams, but I know there's only one team that's horrible that probably won't have anybody. And then there's another team that might only have 1. And then basically everybody else, or maybe just a couple in the second round, won't have anybody as a keeper.
My guess is that in a worst case scenario, you're going to get one of your guys back in round 2. And if not, you get, one of those non-crossed out guys, Eckler, Hall, Barkley, Lamb. You'll get one of those guys back in round 2 because of everybody's keepers. Or you get an ETN or whatever, but you have a shot at Bijan, and if not, you get Gibbs. I probably do it. I'd probably rather have Gibbs and whatever player here falls to you again than to just keep Lamb and Hall. I think this is one of those things where it feels unnatural to not keep anybody, but if I'm understanding it correctly, you'll have better players.
Right, I could get an upgrade. Not that my choices are bad, but it could be an upgrade.
I think so. If you could get Bijan or Gibbs or even both of them, you might get both of them. Not to mention, Is Burrow going to be available? I don't even hate that as your second keeper. Like, if you were to take Bijan and Burrow, I'm fine with that.
Just to draft Burrow on my second pick, 20.
I mean, I'm saying I consider it. Just depends on who's on the clock and everything. But if I'm understanding it correctly, and only you know that based on what you can see me, how you can see me talking about it and what you really know going on with that league, I would go ahead and take the gamble. Hey, hold on, D Philly. We've got a celebrity on the phone that we've been waiting to hear from for a while. His name, none other. The guy we've been waiting to hear from to see how he's been feeling, how he's been doing. Let me see if I can get his intro here. 1 second. Here it is. I give you the Bruce.
The Bruce is loose.
Bruce, how you feeling, Brucey? You had that cranial surgery, and we've been thinking about you dropping prayer emojis like crazy. Everybody drop a prayer emoji for the Bruce. Bruce, how you been feeling?
I feel good. A little bit better now that it's over with. No more stressing about it.
Is it hard to sleep with a cranial surgery? Like, I saw some of the photos that you shared, and boy, that looks painful to lay on.
You know what? Not really.
Have you had?
I just.
Have you had any visions or any increased brain activity? Because I know that sometimes when they do any sort of and I kind of mean this seriously, when they do any sort of looking at that area at all or messing around at all, sometimes it triggers something. Bruce, do you have any visions?
No, not really. I've been good so far. Knock on wood.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you, man. We love you around here, and we've been dropping prayer emojis at the end of live streams every time.
I love you guys too, and thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, everything's good though.
I appreciate it.
Everything's good. Everything's road to recovery. No questions. No. I mean, we don't even know fully what was going on in there, but we appreciate it. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you being back so soon. You're at home, right? You what?
I said the 24th I get these staples and stitches removed, so, the only thing is they itch like a bastard. Oops.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Someone said you're acting nonchalant about having cranial brain surgery. The Bruce is nothing to the Bruce. This is nothing. Bruce, this is just a normal afternoon for the Bruce.
Might make me smarter.
Yeah. Bruce has got visions. As soon as you got visions, man, we're bringing you on for your own segment. You just let me know. I had a dream ETN ripped off a 90-yard touchdown last night, by the way. I woke up, I was looking around, I was trying to figure out if it was real. You know those dreams where you wake up and you literally can't tell. I'm just I don't know if that was real. He ripped off a 90-yard touchdown run. And I know that's going to confuse D Philly because I just told him to throw ETN back into the player pool, but you might be able to get him back. And if my dream is correct and he runs a 90, 95-yard touchdown run in week 1, you still might get him as your third drafted player. What else you got? What do you got football-wise, Brucey?
I was watching because I was, I couldn't really do a whole lot. I seen you bash Jimmy G when you said Devontae Adams isn't a top flight receiver. Don't you think he's going to be top flight at his value?
I don't want to make you upset, Bruce. I don't know what kind of extra powers you got these days. I don't think Jimmy G is going to do right by Adams. The one thing I'll say before, I don't want to bash Adams too much. I've done a lot of it lately. And it's not about bashing Adams. It's bashing Adams' fantasy value. But the one thing I would say, Bruce, is if he was positive about it and he believed in Jimmy G like he believed in Carr, he defended him, says, this is my team, this is my quarterback. If Josh Jacobs was defending Jimmy G and saying, this is my quarterback, this is my team. Those two guys literally said, we want to be on the Raiders roster if you're going to make the right moves. And then what do? They bring in Jimmy G and both of them want out. So, Bruce, my question to you would be this. How do you feel Adams feels about this situation? How do you feel Jacobs feels? And what does that tell you when both of the stars don't want to play anymore? They don't want to be on the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what concerns me. East Coast Tatty says, I'm back. Gonna make up for lost time. East Coast Tatty, appreciate you being here, pal. And we've been without you for a little bit. We appreciate you. D Philly, you got anything you want to add or any other questions?
No, not really. I haven't been keeping up, so I'm kind of out of the loop. I'm just listening right now.
Not only do they have the pro.
Sorry, what'd you say? Go ahead.
Who are you talking to?
D Philly. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is me. I just said that I've been out of the loop for a little bit. I'm preparing for selling my house and moving up north in Florida a little bit. So
I got you.
I've had a tough schedule here and working and everything. So
okay.
I'm trying to catch up.
I got
don't
you.
really have any questions. Just catch up.
Yeah, go ahead and dial in if anybody wants to add any other questions. East Coast Tatty gifted 10 YouTube exclusive memberships. East Coast Tatty to the moon. Thank you, East Coast. What's your question?
What do we think of Rodgers finally showing up to the off season now that he's with the Jets?
What do I think about it? I think it's fantastic to see Aaron Rodgers out there trying to build rapport with his teammates. I think whenever you join a new team, especially with all the drama around this Jet situation and how long it took, it would have been very disappointing. I would have understood it to a degree, but I would have been very disappointed in Aaron Rodgers had he had a little bit of that. Like, I'll show up and when it's mandatory and I'm got my own workout regime. I hate that, and I understand it. Like, if you're a player like Christian McCaffrey, or you're a wide receiver that does a certain regimen or a certain that you have a little routine that you do in the off season. I get it, but there's something about being with your teammates, and there's something about, I don't know, it says something to me when a team doesn't have a good enough off-season workout program that your players don't want to participate with you. You know what I mean? So it would have been disappointing for me if Aaron Rodgers was showing up when he shows up. The fact that he acted almost like a rookie. He's like, I got to come in here and I got to start building rapport and I got to, get to know my guys and learn the system. And I just loved the approach Aaron Rodgers had. It was like, I'm just one of the guys. I'm not an exception to the rule. And so I was pretty impressed with Aaron Rodgers and how he approached it. So I'm fine with, I'm loving the way he's talked about Garrett Wilson. I'm loving the footage I see of Garrett Wilson catching footballs from Aaron Rodgers. I have no concerns at all that he's going to disappoint us and not be Mars Man material.
He's on a shuttle to Mars.
I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy on the Mars Man list. He's been there from the beginning. And Kilpatrick became a member. Appreciate Kilpatrick being a member. But Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Bijan, Olave. This Mars Man list looks phenomenal. It looks amazing to me. There might be an additional person on this. I don't even know if Kincaid will make the Mars Man list. I'm not sure. But that Mars Man looks. Garrett Wilson's.
I was like, yeah.
Garrett Wilson's top 3 to 5. Chris Olave's top 3 to 6, top 3 to 7. I really think they both could overlap and be top 5 wide receivers. But I love when someone comes into the chat or they come into the comment section of a video and you got an unaware Unger that walks in and says something like this in my comments. They either say, Garrett Wilson, top 15, maybe 3rd round. But Garrett Wilson, 2nd round? No. Not 2nd round, Bob. He's a 12-13 turn player. He's a 1st, 2nd round turn player. He's arguably a 10, 11, 12 overall player. When someone comes into my chat or my comments and says something as ridiculous as Garrett Wilson in the second round? Tell me you haven't watched football off season without telling me you haven't watched football. That's how you can best describe your unawareness to the situation. I've been unplugged for 4 or 5 months. When you walk into a comment section or a chat and you question Garrett Wilson's second round value. Second round value, not first round value, second round value. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? This guy is a top 12 overall player. Garrett Wilson. And the Olave comments on my last video, appreciate all those exclusive members that were dropped by East Coast Tatty. I think East Coast Tatty dropped all those. Let me just check real quickly. Let's see, member. Yeah, I think East Coast. If anybody else dropped one, let me know. But East Coast Tatty dropping a 10 YouTube exclusive memberships of absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. But I dropped this video for people that are unaware of this situation, okay? Because I think there are a lot of people that don't understand that the Wolfpack is here to stay. I dropped my Wolfpack video. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London, and Christian Watson. Or you could even put London, London 4, Watson 3, because they kind of depends on what draft pool amount of people you're drafting with, and does your league know Watson season's underway or not? Like, this is the Wolfpack right here, and let me play this for you guys. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London, and Christian Watson. This is the Quad Squad, the Burn Unit, the Wolfpack, the 4 amigos. I give you the 4 best friends that anybody could have. So the Wolfpack, I've got not a lot of comments. Most people love this thing. Most people love it, but I have a lot of people. One guy said, "Smitty," sorry, I choked on my prime. This one shocked me so bad. But he said, "Smitty," Brucey, I'm dying here. This guy in the comments says, "Smitty, this is really bad advice, telling people to draft Olave in the second round. There are some people that believe he has 3rd or 4th round value. And part of it is ESPN's doing. ESPN's ADP is so bad. I first of all recommend you take advantage of it. You could draft in ESPN leagues right now. Move your league to ESPN to take advantage of their garbage ADP. But apparently he's going in the 3rd round, sometimes late 3rd. Some have told me they've got him in the 4th round. And you're complaining. Instead of saying, "Smitty, oh, wise one, Smitty, for telling me that Olave's a top 14 overall player." Instead, you think it's bad advice to tell people to draft him as your second drafted player. Well, let me tell you something. On Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty, he's going in round 2, and there's absolutely no chance, you have 0 chance of getting him in round 3 anymore. He was in round 3. We all cleaned up. We all made out like bandits all offseason long, getting this kid in the 3rd round. I remember a draft I did where I got Olave in the 3rd, Watson and London in the 5th and 6th. Like, I looked back at a draft. I got Olave in round 3. I got Watson in 5 and London in 6. And my team looks marvelous. And we took high advantage of that. But this Wolfpack right here, people don't even know what's about to be dropped on them. This is the crew, the Wolfpack. I recommend you draft it in as many leagues as you can. We got another super chat here. Hold on one second, boys. Let me... Russian Collusion's calling in too. Russian, hang tight real quick. Belichick yourself says Stevenson will be in the top 5 running backs in redraft. I like the bold take. Belichick yourself, appreciate you dropping the super chat wad on screen. And we got Russian Collusion on the line right now. Russian, what's up, my guy?
What's going on, my man?
Not much.
I did a MB4. And it kind of goes with what you're talking about now. I had the number 7th pick. First pick was Bijan. Number 2 pick was Olave. Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Herbert, Pickens,
nice,
Dotson. And my only weakness, I believe, I got Aaron Rodgers and Carr for my quarterbacks. and you're not going to think this is a weakness, but I have Kincaid for my tight end, and I also have Laporta.
I like it.
Rear thoughts.
Love it. Love your start. Top 4 picks were phenomenal. Not that I don't love all of it, but top 4 picks were phenomenal. You got Bijan, Olave, who was your third?
Hall.
Yeah, Brees Hall, and then Gibbs. That's a phenomenal start.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing you could have done better, and it would have just been you'd had to have had lightning strike, was Joe Burrow to also fall to that 5th round pick, which, as I mentioned earlier, people need to take full advantage once Joe Burrow's contract gets signed, and people are fickle, and those fickle Freddies are going to be like, oh, I guess I should take him in the 3rd round now because he's getting paid so much money. You're not going to get 4th and you know, sometimes 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 draft value for Burrow. He can go anywhere from 4.3 to 5.3, but it's.
Oh, he already did in this draft here. He went the first pick in the 4th round.
Yeah, so 4th round. I mean, even that's phenomenal. Even if he goes a little early, like 4.1, according to the normal ADP, that's still a home run win a league. Like anywhere as your 4th drafted player, you can win a league with Joe Burrow. It's absolutely crazy. And to be honest with all of you, I don't know that if I was at 4 point, let's say in best ball you can't trade, but let's just say in a fairy tale world, I had the 5.1 and the 4.1. Okay. And Joe Burrow was sitting there. I'm just telling you, I don't know if I have the patience to deploy going a different player and waiting on Joe Burrow. I think I'll never know because I'll take him at 4.1. But I do urge you all to take advantage of that value. And if you take him at 4.1, you know, and let's say you're in a redraft league where you do own an early top 5 round pick, I don't think I wait. And I understand that, because I do it myself. Joe Burrow wins leagues in round 4. Just flat out wins leagues.
No, I agree with that 100%. That's why I don't like the news on the new contract, because all it's going to do is, just like you said, it's going to move them right up the rankings.
Yeah.
And it's like, can't they wait till the season begins to give him that contract? It's like, that's what you want, you know?
Bro, people are so fickle. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy what that's going to do to the average Bob out there. He's just going to see that Joe Burrow, highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I guess he's my QB 2 or 3 now. You know, it is unfortunate.
Who's he going to move up ahead of?
You what?
He's going to move up ahead of Lamar Jackson. What do you think?
Well, he already kind of is. He's ahead of Fields is ahead of him right now, but he'll definitely. Right. I think he'll definitely climb ahead of Fields for a lot of people once Burrow signs that big deal. It's just it's crazy, bro. It's crazy how people are so knee jerk.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Brucey.
I had a different opinion on that, which I might be dumb, but I would think a quarterback that's fighting for a bigger contract would be higher than a quarterback that's already got paid.
Some people feel that when a player gets paid, they dial back. I know what you're trying to say there, I think. But I think more so what it does is it reminds people that he's at the big boy table. Right now, he's like barely at the big boy table because Fields moved up and took that number 4 spot in most ADP data. And so people moved him down a round. So he's almost like the top dog at the little kids table now. It's crazy that he could go in the 5.1 all the way up to 4.1 territory. It's crazy, man. He belongs there with Hurts in round 2.
Yeah.
So take advantage of it while you can. Take advantage of it. It's not going to last forever.
Smitty, I got a question.
Yeah.
Philly. On the underdraft, I'm finally getting time to go into doing the drafts. What do you suggest amount of drafts? $25, $10? I mean, there's all kinds of amounts. And then how many players person draft do you like to do?
Well, I mean, they decide it for you. Like you could go and do a private draft just to have fun, you know, $3 draft or 6 players. The prize pool is not going to be big at all. The Best Ball Mania draft and then all the little puppies and different things that they do, that's where the big prize money is. I mean, it's all up to you, preference. I don't know how much money or budget you have for it. Like I recommend doing a couple of the Best Ball Manias just so you have a shot at one of the big prizes. But honestly, like if I've got a couple $100 that I'm going to spend on, let's say in a weekend, I'll do a lot of those $5 puppies all day long. I love doing variations. The reason I love doing it is I love drafting. A lot of people like to mix it up. I'm very much I'll go all in on one strategy and then just keep trying it, and I'll get different variations of it. And if I land it, I'm going to have every angle covered. That's kind of the way I look at it. But I do like to have a couple different teams too. Sometimes different draft selections allow you to deploy different strategies, but I do find myself drafting a lot of the same players, and it could burn me, but it also could help me win, if I have all those combinations covered. So, but definitely the $5 puppies are probably the best one I could recommend to people because you can do a lot of them. And the prizes are still cool,
So after I deposited my 100, I have 200 total. When that money's gone, if I deposit another 100, do I get another 100 with your code? Or
Nope. They do a one-time, using my code, one-time double match your deposit, dollar for dollar. But there are other things that they'll potentially throw out there for people that use the code. I'll get those throughout the year. Sometimes we get a freebie, like on the pick'ems when you go to the higher low. If you click on the higher low, and you're choosing 5 like higher low, on one ticket, you will get like a free one. Like all Hertz has to do is run for 1 yard, and you just hit higher on that one, and then it's kind of like a free one. So they'll give stuff like that to make it a lot easier to win.
When it says slow draft, how long does slow draft mean? What's that mean?
8 hours, but during the night it's shut off, so it's like a 10-hour timer at night.
So the next day you have time to still finish the draft.
Yeah.
And how many players do you pick?
It's 10 bench spots. You got two running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 quarterback, 1 flex. Hang tight for me, D. Philly. Okay, I have the 1.1, 1.2, and 1.4 in a 10-team 1 QB PPR. This is from AWOL. Appreciate your super chat, by the way. I am in a rebuild. Go Gibbs or JSN at 1.2, Addison at 1.4. I have ETN, Kamara, Akers, Godwin, Elijah Moore, Hawkinson. Okay, so you definitely need kind of a mix of everything. I mean, you definitely could use a JSN at 1.4. I would take Gibbs without hesitation at 1.2. If JSN fell to your 1.4, I'd probably take him. But Addison would be fine. Addison and Gibbs would be good. Kincaid's a guy I still love around the 5 or 6 overall. So, I'm not saying take him at 4, but he's somebody to look at. You do have Hawkinson. So I wonder if you could maybe. No, I mean, I would be tempted to shop Hawkinson, but that's me. Like, what if you could get a wide receiver for Hawkinson, like Watson or London, using Hawkinson, and then you can use the 1.4 on Kincaid. And I know it's early, but you could trade down a spot, or you could just do it. Like, if I could end up with Gibbs, Kincaid, and Christian Watson or London using Hawkinson in those 3 like that's something I would explore. I would explore that because I'd rather have Kincaid than Hawkinson personally. I wouldn't do that trade straight up because Hawkinson commands a lot more via trade, but that's why I think you could go get a Watson or a Drake London using that tight end spot, and then go get Kincaid with the 4. That would be me. That way you're solving your wide receiver problem. You're getting Gibbs, and you're also got Kincaid. Like, that would be a phenomenal, I think, start. Thank you for the $5 hauler. I got another $5 hauler from Nikki. Nikki says, Smitty, keep one from the round they were drafted. St. Brown 5, Burrow 6, Walker 7. Walker all day until Charbonnet, leaning Burrow now. I think because you can draft Burrow back easier, I'd probably go St. Brown in 5 and then draft Burrow. Because St. Brown's like a top 12, top 14 overall pick. Burrow's going in round 4 or 5. Even if it's a little higher in a keeper league, let's say, you're still getting way more bang for the buck out of St. Brown. So go St. Brown and then draft Burrow back. That would be my advice. As much as I love Burrow, you're not going to see many more people higher on Burrow than I am, and I'm telling you that you're better off going St. Brown and trying to get Burrow. Let's go over to Oscar, who's live on the phone. Oscar, what's up, my guy?
Hey, what up, Smitty? How are you?
I'm good, bro.
Awesome, man. I was calling in because I got a quick question here.
Yep.
So I'm on the clock doing a Superflex Dynasty startup draft. I have two players that I wanted to get your thoughts on between Marvin Mims and Rasheed Rice. Who would you go with?
Probably go Rice. I like Marvin Mims. We've heard different things about Marvin Mims, like he's Sean Payton's guy, and that he's got a lot of upside. But then we've heard other things where it's like he's going to be packaged into some specific plays, and he's not necessarily like thought of to be the number one. And so when you hear stuff like that, you're like, well, how can I buy into that? You know, if he's not considered their one, then you hear other things that are like, this is Sean Payton's guy, and you're like, wait a minute, is he their number one potential guy? You know, down the road. I like him a lot. The metrics for this kid are very, very promising coming out of college. I like what I see in terms of like data and what I see when I watch him run and work out, and he's got a good skill set for sure. But Rice, I feel like, I don't know. The situation is always very deceiving too, though. In KC, you know, you always think they're going to use a rookie a certain way, and they don't. So part of me worries a little bit about that, just repeating itself, and us being like, we knew this was coming. The writing was on the wall. But Mims has to climb a lot of wide receiver spots to get into his role. Rice has very little in front of him. Like if Kadarius Toney gets hurt, or even if he doesn't get hurt, Rice could still get into the opposite, wide receiver spot. But if Kadarius Toney, who's very injury prone, very concerning, head case type guy, this could be the number one wide receiver in KC, within a certain amount of time, even if it took a full year. So if we're talking dynasty, and I'm sure we are, then I'd rather go the route of Rice. I'd rather take a gamble on Rice, even though I still like Mims a little bit. I do.
Okay. And
it's a safer.
Would you take Rice over Sky Moore?
Probably. I hate saying that because I've been a big Sky Moore guy all off season long, and I do like him. I want both of them because if you have both of them, I think you're safe. I think you're securing yourself into a for sure situation. Sky Moore, he's small. I worry about that. I do think they bring rookies along so slowly. I hesitate to answer this question, to be honest. I'm going to backtrack and say I don't know that I feel like I could answer that question with confidence yet. I think Sky Moore is a real shot at still holding Rice off and being the number one wide receiver in KC. Draft capital for Sky Moore is high. I think either one of Sky Moore or Rice could be the number one in 2 years. And the fact that they didn't use Sky Moore last year, and they don't use Andy Reid doesn't use rookies usually very, very quickly, then maybe Sky Moore takes a huge leap this year. I kind of feel like you almost got to get both of them somehow, bro.
Yeah, and that might be possible because I have right now Rice is three spots down from where my pick is at right now, and then you got Sky Moore in the next round, pretty much.
Try and get both of them, man. Go Rice because he has potentially more value, but have them both would be secure. Hold on, let's.
Got it.
This was Oscar Collusion. You got anything else? What do you got?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about last year. You talked a lot about there was a dead zone because I've been noticing that there's a dead zone when you're doing the drafts right now, and I know it's early. Between round 7 and 8.
For RBs?
What are you seeing?
For RBs?
For anything. Like 7, I was doing a mock today. Or not a mock, I was doing an MB4. And at 7, I was like, there was nobody there. I'm like, what the hell? I actually reached on somebody that should be going in the 9th round that I like.
So I would say, I don't know that there's a dead zone anywhere at all this year. I don't think there are. If you're in Best Ball Mania, Underdog Fantasy, or Best Ball and Underdog, Kamara goes in round 7. Charbonnet goes in round 7. You can get your quarterback there if you want to plan for using the dead zone for a quarterback slot. Kincaid's going in the 8, 9, 10 territory. I feel like there's a lot of value. You got Swift going in the 5, 6 territory. And then you have Pacheco in the 6, 7, Pierce in the 6, 7. wide receivers like Pickens going 6-7 all the time. I don't know. I think the 6-7 round, like when you're talking about 8, 9, 10 or whatever, that's just a general drop off. That's just like you're running out of guys. When you're at like round 9, you're just thinking about the Sky Moores, like we are talking about. You're thinking about the Hyatts and guys that are in double digit rounds. Like that's just a plain drop off. But I don't think there's a dead zone anywhere. I don't think there's a dead zone anywhere in fantasy this year. That could move and migrate over. Like quarterbacks could move up and then create this like little vacancy area. Or let's say Swift climbs up too high, Kamara climbs up too high, Pacheco climbs up, and then you creates a little dead zone in 6-7. But right now, I don't sense a dead zone anywhere. I've looked at it and I did a breakdown on it, like you mentioned, and I don't see a dead zone at all. Like there's a lot of players. Every round I seem to be really, really happy with who's available. And if I look at, let's say, a draft, I'm going to pull up a completed draft on Underdog Fantasy and just, let's see, a recent Poodle draft. Let me click on this. Let me look at the draft board. So in round, let me plug in actually, and we'll look at it here together. So what round were you talking about?
Round 7.
So round 7. This is round 7 right here. Rashad White, Darren Waller. I think it's only fair to look at 6. Somebody took Mingo. Let's not use this draft. That was Aloha. Aloha, I appreciate you, by the way. Don't get mad. Mingo was way too high. Okay, so George Pickens 6, Pacheco 6, Dalvin Cook round 6, Trevor Lawrence 6, Kyle Pitts 6, Dameon Pierce, then dipping down into round 7. So round 7 is his top row. We got Aaron Rodgers, Rashad White, Dotson. Dotson's one of the steals of the entire draft, and he's sitting in round 7. Darren Waller's phenomenal value. I like Anthony Richardson in 8. I love Kamara in 8. Javonte in 8. Alexander Madison in 8, bro. Zay Flowers. A-Chain in 9, 10. Kincaid in 9. Charbonnet in 9. I mean, you tell me there's Jamison Williams, stash him. And there's no dead zone, man. Look at this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You just got to.
Yeah, I think what it is I think everybody you mentioned went before my pick. And, Jahan Dotson, Waller went before me. Swift went before me. Pickens. I ended up taking Gabe Davis because I was like, who the hell am I going to pick? And I really don't like Gabe this year.
Yeah, I think until you get to 10, like double-digit rounds, there's no dead zone usually. Like you might have been in an unusual draft, but then I got to ask myself, who someone had to have been pushed out, and value was somewhere. There's no dead zone if you utilize your draft, says Belichick yourself. I think it depends on who you're drafting with. I mean, is there a scenario where I feel like round 7 or 8 is drier than normal, especially if I'm drafting with all you guys sniping me left and right? Yeah. But in general, I mean, we just mapped out a bunch of guys that are from round 6 until 9. So you should be able to find one of those guys.
Actually, on the next pick, I ended up getting Kamara. So
yeah,
in 8.
There you go.
So I mean,
there you go. And Swift, I love Swift, and I love Swift in that 6 round territory. Just absolutely, Kincaid and Swift and Kamara and Charbonnet, like those are my favorite players. If I could get all of them in this territory, I'm ear to ear grin. I'll even go a little early on Swift in 5 to get Kamara in 6, to get Charbonnet in 7, to get Kincaid in 8, to fit them all in. Like I'm willing to start this run a little early, and then you scoop up something amazing like this right here. I mean, tell me this isn't a winning team. And even if we take Gibbs out, it's an amazing team. But Garrett Wilson and Olave in 1 and 2, Gibbs and Burrow in 2 and 3 and 4, and then getting, even if you're going early on Swift and early on Kamara to get it all done, Charbonnet, let's take Aaron Rodgers out of here. Like this combo right here, this feels like I'm walking into a championship. Garrett Wilson, Olave, Gibbs, Burrow, Swift, Kamara, Charbonnet, Kincaid, like just absolutely Smitty.
You just pretty much said. I'm looking at a MB4 right now, and my pick was the 10th pick, and I picked Garrett Wilson, Olave, Gibbs, Burrow. I picked Miles Sanders, which you don't talk a lot about him, but I think he's going to do well this year.
Good.
I think he's going to be used a lot like what's his name in San Fran there.
He could.
I believe. I'm hoping.
Yeah, he could. Here, hang tight on the line real quick, guys, because you're not going to be able to talk over this animation. But let me just play the Four Horsemen for you, because the Four Horsemen is a combination of all this, too. It's like,
The Four Horsemen. Drafting Chase in round 1. Hall in 2. Burrow in 3. London in 4. Try Gibbs in 3. Burrow in 4. Wilson in 2. No problem. Combinations of these monsters will give your league mates nightmares, especially Bijan 1, Olave 2, Burrow 3, and Gibbs 4. Don't lie. You just made an oopsie in your pants, didn't you? Ride for horses at the same time. The Four Horsemen.
That ending piece of the Four Horsemen, that Bijan, the Olave, the Jahmyr Gibbs, and Burrow is just unreal to me. I just love it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, or the Chase, Jamar Chase, and Olave, and Gibbs and Burrow. Like either one of those combinations, depending if you're drafting high or drafting low in the first round, just unreal. Pal Derby says, Smitty, you going to have a meet and greet in Vegas? Absolutely, pal. Announcement coming really soon. But I will be in Vegas on July 15. So if you guys want to make that our little meet and greet sesh, let's do it live. So July 15, anybody can make it to Vegas. Announcement coming as to what's going on. But July 15, Pal Derby, I'll be there, pal. I'll be there, Pal Derby. Hope to see you there. What else we got? D Philly, you got anything else? Hello?
No, I'm just listening. I'm here.
Okay,
no,
okay.
I was just listening. But
Collusion.
I'd like to go to Vegas, though.
Yeah, Collusion. You got anything else? AWOL dropping another super chat. Forgot I have the 1.7 for Kincaid, so shop Hawkins for a wide receiver. I still would. Yeah, you could get if you could get JSN at or Addison or whoever, and then you get Gibbs and you get Kincaid. Or you go Kincaid at 4 just to not push your luck, and then you get your wide receiver, like Quentin Johnston or something at that 1.7, and then shop Hawkinson for Watson or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. I'm down for that. I think that would be a good move personally. And not everybody's going to agree with me. Just know that, but that's how I feel. And then this other super chat, any advice on how to trade for Bijan in a redraft? Really, really hard. You've already drafted your redraft. That's hard to imagine. Most people don't draft a redraft until August. But if you're talking about just in anticipation, problem is people that draft Bijan are going to be so excited about him. It's hard to imagine trading. You almost have to trade for the pick that's going to get Bijan. Trading for Bijan will be very, very tough. Because if anybody takes Bijan from you, they drafted him early. Because you're not going to let him slip past a late first round pick or an early second. So if anybody takes Bijan, they're taking him really, really early, and they're probably going to overvalue him. But hard to know, bro. I would say I would trade CMC for Bijan and something, and you probably could get something. I would trade, Tyreek Hill or any of those wide receivers that you would typically see drafted above Bijan. I'd trade those guys for Bijan. Past that, you almost have to just cut your losses and say, I'm not going to get Bijan in this draft because you have to way, way, way overpay. But specifics matter, Isaac. So if you have a scenario, you can run by me. Smitty, give AJ, B, Watson, Flowers, Sanders for Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, and Goddard. AJ Brown, Watson, Flowers, Sanders for Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Goddard. AJB, Watson, Flowers. I'd probably take the Amon-Ra side. But, it depends on if you needed an RB. Do you need a tight end? But that's AJ Brown, Watson, Flowers, and Sanders. Miles Sanders could be, I forget if it was Collusion that said, could have a good year. I do think he could. But give me Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Goddard. But depends on your running back situation. What else you got, Collusion?
So I just wanted to ask you one more thing, and then we get off the line, open it up for somebody else.
Well, it's
I've been
open.
drafting a lot of Alvin Kamara lately, and I've been tying what's his name there? I'm assuming the backup
Kendra
Miller with
Yep.
him. Do you agree with that, or do you think I'm wasting a spot?
No, I love Kendra Miller and Alvin Kamara together. I mean, of course, Jamal Williams has something to say about that, but I don't know that I believe in him being, I don't know, worth the. I mean, you could even get all three, but I think I'd rather just go Kamara and Kendra. They like Kendra a lot. I like Kendra a lot. We loved Kendra before the draft, so I'm pretty fine with that. I think Jamal would hold up as the full-time guy. Keep in mind, Jamal did what he did with like this weird usage. It was not something he's going to replicate in New Orleans, I don't think. Never know.
All right, man. I'm going to get off the line here to open it up for somebody else.
All right.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Listen to you.
Appreciate you, Collusion. Later, pal.
All right, bye.
And you can call in. I mean, I keep the lines kind of open like that. So if you want to jump back on. If Bijan falls to me in redraft, I'd be surprised as hell, says Isaac. Bijan is unattainable unless you're in the top 5. Depends on who you draft with. Some people call us crazy for drafting him in the top 5. I think the majority of the world's catching up, though. So, but yeah, if you don't have a top 5 pick, you got to trade for the pick, Isaac. I don't think you can trade for the player because anybody takes him in the top 5 is going to overvalue him, and you're not going to be able to get him. So trade for the pick. Yeah, trade for the pick, pal. What else you got? D Philly, anything else? I might wrap up the show here actually a little earlier than normal. Not early, but we've been live for almost an hour and a half. But what you got? Any final questions?
No, not really, bud.
Okay. Hey, call in anytime, D Philly. We need to hear more from you. All right.
All right, take care, man.
Later, man. All right. What else we got? Phone lines are open for just a minute. Collusion gifted another 10 memberships. Collusion's an absolute maniac and monster tonight. Collusion to the moon. Thank you, Collusion. Appreciate you, my guy. What else you guys got? Dial in. The phone lines are open for just a few more minutes, and then I'm going to jump a little early tonight. So dial into the show. Dial into the show. Where's my music? There we go. Can you guys hear that? But it's not too loud. Collusion to the moon. Collusion, thank you. Is that music just right? Little low, little too high? I feel like you can hear it, but it's not too loud. Let me know. Swift is a Hail Mary, though. He's never returned value at any draft capital. Frankie's also very, very young still. Like, it's not like he's been in the league 5 years, so it's like, 2 years of not returning value. Okay. I think he's still got a story to tell. But they traded for him. They traded for him in Philly. They want him there. Collusion, appreciate you. Collusion dropping a 20 wad on screen. Russian Collusion. My guy. Collusion. Collusion to the moon.
To the moon.
Collusion says, best show ever. You're the monster. Appreciate you, Collusion. For all you do. Devontae overvalued. Will Jimmy G drag him down? Absolutely, Max. Overvalued for sure. Not touching him. Devontae Adams is a must-have, in my opinion. Sorry, Brucey, but a total avoid. Total avoid. Now, unless he fell into third-round value, I'm avoiding him. I'm not taking him in the second round. There are too many players I like Olave, way over Devontae Adams in that situation. I don't blame anybody for wanting to go down that road. Smitty, will Tom Brady being possible minority owner help the situation there? I don't think so. I don't think a minority owner, in terms of ownership of a team having a minority share, is really going to affect too much. Maybe. I don't know what he's doing with that. I don't know why you'd pick that situation too. Why would you want to be a minority owner or even majority owner or any kind of owner at all of the Las Vegas Raiders? Maybe they turn things around in 4 or 5 years. I don't know. Trying to see if there's another question in here. All right, guys. I will be creating more content. I'll see you all probably. I don't know if I'll go live tonight on any sort of breaking news or not. I'll let you know. But tomorrow's going to be a big day. Tomorrow, a lot of content dropping. I'm going to create some of that content tonight. It's going to drop in the morning. I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a big day here on the channel. Lots of stuff dropping. Lots of videos. Maybe the 2 announcements. Announcement number 1 is the Vegas. The details behind the announcement are coming. July 15, I'll be in Vegas. I want all of you to show up in Vegas. Also, the Marsmen Club. This is an aluminum card. There will be 11 of these. I will be one of the members, but there will be 11 other members that can be Marsmen members. This aluminum card, this like metal aluminum card, you'll put in your wallet. Keep it with you. It comes with a bunch of perks. There will be only 11 of them given out, sold to be a part of this membership. Stay tuned. It comes with a league. The league will be high profile. It will be live streamed every year on the channel. This will not be a renewal sort of thing. It'll be 11 members that always stay in the club. So stay tuned. And then there might be an additional Moonmen Club that is going to be, in a sense, below the Marsmen. But it'll still be available, and there's all kinds of cool things. But it'll be literally 24 people, and then that's it. 24 people, but the main 11 are going to want to be in this club right here. Stay tuned for that. Appreciate you all. See you on the flip side. TT will have a birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, early birthday. See you all later. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, D-Town. Thank you, Travis. Thank you for moderating, like always. I'm sorry I don't say thank you enough to the moderators. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Travis. D-Class in the building. Brian. See you later, Brian. July 15th, Vegas trip. Appreciate you all. Ethan. Golf, my man. Info to come, D-Town. Info to come.
A top 5 wide receiver hides among the people. His cost of entry is near illegal. Few see him coming. Many stay away. His name is Chris Olave.
Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London, and Christian Watson. This is the Quad Squad, the Burn Unit, the Wolf Pack, the 4 amigos. I give you the 4 best friends that anybody could have. See you all later, pals. People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.